She made two 16-year-old girls cry at courtside, and security's response will make your blood boil. This is the moment the WNBA showed everyone exactly who the rules actually apply to. Watch her body language. Watch how fast security's tone changes the second they find out who she really is. That hesitation? That shift? That's the exact moment they realize the normal rules don't apply to her. Because this wasn't some random rowdy fan who lost it for a second. This was a co-owner of the Seattle Storm. And what you're about to see is the moment everything changed. Before we get into this, if stories like this make you as angry as they make me, do me a favor and hit subscribe right now. This channel exists because fans like you refuse to look away when something isn't right, and honestly, we can't keep holding people accountable without you in this community with us. It genuinely means more than you know. Okay, let's get into it. Here's what happened at Climate Pledge Arena on game night, and once you hear the full story, you'll understand why this has blown up the way it has. Two 16-year-old girls, Annalie and her friend, were sitting in their seats holding signs supporting Sophie Cunningham and the Indiana Fever. That's it. That's the whole crime. Standard fan behavior you'd see at literally any sporting event in America. Then a woman approaches them. Not security. Not an usher. A spectator. She gets in their faces, starts cursing at them, brings up religion completely unprovoked, and tells them she hopes God can forgive them for what they've done. Two teenage girls. Getting verbally torn into by a grown adult woman at a basketball game, for holding a sign. The girls start crying. Here's audio from the person who witnessed it and documented everything. So at this point, I go over to security again, and there's another male security guard who was perfectly nice to us and knew the situation that had happened. And I go to him and I say, "Hey, you know that woman sitting next to Sue Bird is the woman who made the girls cry?" And he's like, "Which one?" And I'm like, "The one, whatever." And he says, "Oh, that's a co-owner of the team. Her name is Celeste Katon." There she is. The woman on the left is the co-owner. Next to her, her wife. Now here's where this gets complicated, and honestly where it gets a lot bigger than one bad interaction. The person documenting all of this is Brandy Cruz from Undivided. She's got a platform. She understands how media works. And in that moment, she was also responsible for a group of teenage athletes who had come to simply watch a basketball game. So she does exactly what any responsible adult should do. She goes and finds security. She reports the incident. She points out the specific woman who reduced two children to tears. And that's when security drops the bomb. "Oh, that's a co-owner of the team." Sit with that response for a second. Not, "We'll handle it." Not, "We'll escort her out." Not, "That's completely unacceptable." Just an identification. As if simply knowing who someone is somehow explains why the rules don't apply to her. As if ownership status quietly creates immunity from the exact same fan code of conduct that everyone else in that arena has to follow. Because let's be clear, this isn't a gray area. The WNBA's own fan code of conduct spells it out in black and white. Any in-arena comments using profanity, violation. Comments that are offensive, abusive, disparaging, or demeaning, violation. Discriminatory comments based on religious beliefs, violation. There's no asterisk in that rulebook that says, "Unless you're wealthy enough to own part of the team." There's no fine print that says, "Does not apply to longtime partners of the league." The code applies to everyone who walks through those doors, or at least it's supposed to. You and your wife need to come out. You and your wife need to come out and address this on camera. Your little 5-game suspension where you get to hide away is not enough. That's not enough. So Brandy tells security exactly what happened. There's actual video of the conversation. She's standing there saying, "I'm responsible for these girls." Security is polite about it, but here's the part that should make you furious. "So I'm telling them and they were nice, right?" But they say, "Oh, that's the co-owner of the team." And I say, "Okay." And I'm thinking, why does it matter? I don't care if you're the co-owner, Sue Bird, or who it is. Security tells Brandy Cruz to write a letter to the team. Let that actually sink in. Right. A letter. To the team. About the team's own co-owner. Who exactly is supposed to read that letter? Who's going to enforce any real consequence when the person who broke the code of conduct is literally one of the people running the organization? That's not accountability, that's a paper trail designed to go nowhere. Here's where the power dynamic becomes impossible to ignore. If any regular fan had gotten up, walked across that arena, and verbally abused two teenage girls until they cried, they'd have been ejected immediately. No questions asked. Escorted out. Possibly banned from future games. Depending on what was said, maybe even looking at law enforcement involvement. That's the standard. That's what's supposed to happen when you cross the line at a professional sporting event. Celeste Katon didn't get ejected. She walked right back to her courtside seat next to Sue Bird and watched the rest of the game like nothing happened. The only reason any of this became public at all is because Brandy Cruz had a platform and knew exactly how to use it. She put the story out with receipts, video evidence, specific details about what was said, and exactly how security responded. She forced the league's hand. It's against the fan rules of conduct. So I'm like, can't we do something about this right now? Security had basically said, if you find this woman, let us know. Well, I found her. Sorry that she happens to be the co-owner of the team, but she cursed out 2 16-year-olds. I'm like, can we do something about it? And one of the security guards says, well, you could go, there's an office up here, you could go talk to him. And the other one says the best course of action is probably just to write a letter to the team. So they're telling me to write a letter to the team. Okay, write a letter to the team. And it's the damn owner. And here's what makes all of this even worse. This wasn't an isolated incident that night. Brandy documents a second moment. One of the teenage athletes with her, Callie Keeler, gets up to check on Annalie while she's crying. 2 other Storm fans try to trip her as she walks by, and then laugh about it. This isn't one bad apple having a bad night. This is a pattern. A pattern where opposing fans are being targeted and harassed, seemingly with the implicit blessing of the building's own ownership. So what did the league actually do? A 5-game suspension for Celeste Katon. That's it. Let's break down exactly why that's nowhere near enough. First, owners don't attend every single game to begin with. They pick and choose based on their schedule, the opponent, whatever's convenient for them. Suspending an owner from 5 games isn't remotely the same as suspending a player, or even a season ticket holder who actually shows up every night. For someone in her position, it's barely an inconvenience. Second, there was no public apology required. No press conference. No direct statement from Katon to the girls she reduced to tears, or to the fans who witnessed the whole thing. The league issued a statement on her behalf. That's not accountability. That's damage control with a press release attached. We love Sophie. Like, thank you Sophie for speaking up. And so we were holding on, she's watching the game again. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know, like, I'm religious, like, I know. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. Let's talk about what real accountability actually looks like here, because this wasn't it. Celeste Katon should have been suspended from every single Storm home game for the rest of the season. Not 5 games. The rest of the season. That's how you send the message that ownership doesn't buy immunity. You apply the exact same standard you'd apply to any regular fan who verbally abused children in your building. She should be facing a real financial penalty. Not a symbolic slap on the wrist. A substantial amount that actually means something, even to someone wealthy enough to own a stake in a WNBA franchise. Money that goes directly toward youth sports programs or anti-bullying initiatives. Make the punishment actually mean something. And most importantly, she needs to face cameras and apologize directly. Not through a league statement. Not through a PR firm. Celeste Katon needs to stand in front of a microphone and address what she did. Apologize to Annalie. Apologize to her friend. Apologize to Brandy Cruz for putting her in an impossible situation. Apologize to every parent who brings their kid to a Storm game expecting a safe environment. But it doesn't stop with Katon. The Storm organization also needs to address the assault that happened in their own building that same night. A Caitlin Clark fan was reportedly spit in the face by a Storm fan. That's battery. That's a crime. Where's the statement about increased security? Where's the plan to prevent this from happening again? Where's the acknowledgement that their arena became hostile toward opposing fans? Profanity that's offensive, abusive, disparaging, demeaning, strictly against the rules. They violate the WNBA's fan code of conduct. So what happens when the co-owner of the team violates the WNBA's fan code of conduct and gets up and crosses the entire floor to go harass 2 16-year-old girls? And this is a woman who's been held up in the media for years as a champion for women's sports. A champion for the WNBA. Here's what Brandy Cruz's video really exposed. Something that goes way beyond this single night. It exposed the double standard that kicks in the moment powerful people break the rules. Security knew immediately who Celeste Katon was. And that single piece of knowledge changed everything about how they responded. It went from, if you find her, let us know, to, well, it's complicated, the second they realized exactly who they were dealing with. This is the same woman who's been publicly praised for years as a champion for women's basketball. Someone who invested in the league, who supported women's sports. And maybe she genuinely has done good things for the game. But none of that gives anyone the right to verbally abuse teenage girls at a basketball game. Contributions to a league don't buy you a separate set of rules for how you treat other human beings. The irony here is honestly hard to ignore. The WNBA has spent years trying to build a family-friendly environment, marketing itself as accessible, welcoming, a place where young girls can watch professional women athletes and walk away inspired. Then you have a team owner making young girls cry for supporting the wrong team. Fans allegedly trying to trip teenage athletes. Someone getting spit on. That's not family-friendly. That's hostile. Any other fan in that stadium who acted the way Celeste Katon acted would have been ejected. Yep. No question in the world. 1,000%. Had I acted that way, gotten up, gone and sworn at two people, let alone children, and made them cry, I would have been ejected and I would have deserved it. Let's address something that's been simmering under the surface all season. This happened at a Fever game. Caitlin Clark's team. The team that's driving record-breaking attendance and viewership across the entire league. The team bringing brand new fans through the doors in every single city they visit. And some of those new fans are being treated like invaders. There's been this ongoing tension all season between longtime WNBA fans and the new audience Clark's popularity is pulling in. Some legacy fans resent the attention she's getting. They resent that casual fans are showing up for her and not necessarily for players who've been grinding in the league for years. They resent that media coverage has shifted almost overnight. And in some cases, that resentment is turning into open hostility toward Fever fans. But here's what those fans need to understand. The league needs this growth. The WNBA has operated at a financial loss for most of its history. Teams need attendance. They need viewership. They need casual fans converting into regular fans. Caitlin Clark is bringing exactly that: attention, revenue, and brand new audiences the league has been chasing for almost 30 years. And if the response to that growth is making new fans feel unwelcome, you're actively sabotaging the thing that's finally working. Celeste Katon's behavior toward those two teenage girls is a perfect, ugly example of this exact problem. They were holding signs supporting the Fever. That's it. That's completely normal fan behavior. But to her, apparently, it warranted a confrontation. It warranted bringing up religion out of nowhere. It warranted reducing two kids to tears. What about a cardboard sign was so offensive that an adult woman, a co-owner of the opposing team, felt the need to get in their faces? Callie Keeler had gotten up to go check on Annalie while she was crying, and these two absolute detestable creatures attempted to trip her, and then laughed about it. Well, there are their faces. Let's find out who they are. Maybe there's someone of importance too. It is always the people who preach love and inclusion, who think they're morally superior, who end up being the most detestable, hateful people on the planet. So now let's talk about what happens next, because this response sets a precedent whether the league wants to admit it or not. The WNBA has essentially told owners, if you break the fan code of conduct, you get a light suspension and a few days of bad press, and that's it. No real accountability. No meaningful change. Just wait it out and let it blow over. That's a genuine problem because other owners are watching. Other fans are watching. And what they're learning is that the rules are negotiable if you have enough money or enough status. They're learning that the league will protect its owners even when those owners create hostile environments for paying fans. They're learning that public pressure, not internal policy, is the only thing that actually forces accountability. Brandy Cruz shouldn't have had to blast this story across her platform just to get a response. Security should have handled it the second it happened. The Storm organization should have addressed it immediately without prompting. The league should have come down hard without needing social media outrage to force their hand. But that's not what happened. It took a media personality with a real platform and video evidence before anyone actually did anything. Now think about all the incidents that never get documented. All the fans who get harassed or assaulted with no Brandy Cruz standing there with a camera. All the letters that get written and quietly go nowhere. This story only became public because the right person happened to be in the right seat with the right platform. How many other incidents are we simply never hearing about? The spitting incident deserves its own spotlight, because that's not just rude, that's assault. Someone physically spitting in another human being's face. And what's the Storm's response? Silence. What's the league's response? Focus entirely on the owner's suspension and quietly ignore the assault altogether. That's unacceptable. Every single fan in that building, every fan in every arena, should feel safe. If a league can't guarantee that basic level of safety, it has failed at the most fundamental level of event management. Hold a press conference. Have ownership. Both Celeste Katon and her partner address exactly what happened. Lay out specific new security measures. Announce publicly how they plan to handle hostile fan behavior going forward. Make it unmistakably clear that courtside seats don't come with immunity from the code of conduct every other fan has to follow. Reach out directly to Brandy Cruz and the girls who were harassed. A private apology, sure, but also a public acknowledgement. These girls came to watch basketball and left traumatized. That happened in the Storm's building on the Storm's watch, with a Storm co-owner as the aggressor. Own it. Fix it. Make it right. The WNBA needs to seriously revisit its ownership standards. If you're going to give someone an ownership stake in a franchise, there should be real behavioral expectations attached to that. There should be a morals clause. There should be actual consequences for creating PR disasters and hostile environments inside your own arena. Celeste Katon's behavior reflects on the entire league, not just the Storm. The WNBA's brand takes a hit every single time an owner acts like this and walks away with a slap on the wrist. Here's the part that matters most. The WNBA is standing at a critical growth moment. Caitlin Clark's rookie season brought unprecedented attention to the league. Attendance up, viewership up, merchandise sales up, new sponsors finally paying attention. This is the moment the league has been building toward for almost 3 decades. And incidents like this one actively threaten that growth. New fans who show up and get harassed don't come back. Parents who bring their daughters to watch Caitlin Clark play, and then watch those same daughters get reduced to tears by an owner, don't come back. Casual fans who see this story and conclude the league has a toxic fan culture never give it a real chance to begin with. Every incident like this costs the WNBA long-term fans. Long-term revenue. Long-term credibility. The league simply cannot afford to be protective of owners who create these problems. It cannot afford to keep issuing weak punishments that don't actually change behavior. It cannot afford to wait around for social media outrage before finally taking action. It needs to be proactive. It needs clear standards. And it needs to enforce those standards consistently, no matter who breaks them. Celeste Katon should be ashamed of herself. A grown woman who made teenage girls cry at a basketball game. Someone who used her position and her courtside seat to intimidate kids for the crime of supporting the wrong team. And when security found out exactly who she was, she got protected instead of ejected. That's not leadership. That's not being a champion for women's sports. That's being a bully who hides behind money and status. The 5-game suspension is insulting. It's the league hoping this quietly blows over without ever addressing the actual problem underneath it. It's performative accountability that costs Katon absolutely nothing. She'll miss a handful of games she probably wasn't planning to attend anyway, wait out the news cycle, and slide right back into her courtside seat with 0 real consequences. So what should actually happen? A full season-long suspension from home games. A public apology on camera. A real explanation of new security measures. A public acknowledgement of the assault that happened inside that building. A financial penalty that actually stings. And most importantly, a clear, unmistakable message that ownership status does not buy immunity from basic human decency. The WNBA talks a big game about values, community, and welcoming environments. Now is exactly the moment to back that up with real action. Show that protecting teenage fans matters more than protecting a wealthy owner's comfort. Show that growth and new audiences actually matter more than staying cozy with the people who write the checks. Because here's the reality, Caitlin Clark and every new fan she's bringing through the doors is the future of this league. They're the reason attendance is breaking records. They're the reason sponsors are finally paying attention. And if the league's answer to those new fans getting harassed is a week suspension and a corporate statement, they will leave. They'll go watch women's college basketball, where the environment is genuinely family-friendly. They'll go support leagues and teams where they actually feel welcome. The ball is in the WNBA's court now. They can take this seriously and implement real, lasting change, or they can keep issuing weak punishments and watch stories like this one keep damaging the brand. They can protect every single fan equally, or they can protect their owners and watch their own growth stall out. They can be the league they claim to be, or they can be the league that let a co-owner make teenage girls cry with almost no real accountability. Look, if you made it this far, it's because you actually care about fairness in this sport, not just the highlights. That matters, and honestly, this channel only exists because of people like you who stick around for the real conversations, not just the clips. So if this hit you the way it hit me, please subscribe to WNBA Analysis. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next breakdown. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to this channel and to keeping these conversations going. I promise you we're not going anywhere, and I'd genuinely love to have you with us for what's coming next. So let me ask you directly, is a 5-game suspension enough? Should Celeste Katon be banned for the rest of the season? Should the Storm be forced to publicly address the assault that happened in their own building? And what does it say about this league that it took social media outrage just to get even this weak of a response? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. This has been WNBA Analysis. See you in the next one.